What if events had unfolded differently in Avengers Infinity War? What if the slightest change altered history in such a way that everything had just changed? Even if a choice is made a few minutes or a few seconds earlier, it can result in completely different events. It could result into disaster. Sometimes it can result in success. Either way, it branches off into a multiverse of madness. Watch once again, my fellow watchers, as we watch Infinity War play out in such a different way. It could even be in such a way that's the slightest change, and it's been a highly requested change. Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 13. What if Peter Parker wasn't dusted? The fight in Wakanda was getting more and more intense, but one thing was clear. Thanos was quickly gaining victory, and that was not good for anybody. Now, Thanos had already killed Vision and obtained the Mind Stone. Now he had all 6 Infinity Stones. At that moment, Thor flew down from the sky with the Stormbreaker and began to attack Thanos just like the original timeline. He hit Thanos with so much, ensuring that the Titan felt the full force of his power. After they fought for a long while, Thor descended with the Stormbreaker on Thanos' heart. As he did this, the Mad Titan began to laugh. He just said, "You should have gone for the head," and with that, he snapped his fingers. Tony Stark, Peter Quill, Peter Parker, Stephen Strange, Nebula, Drax, and Mantis were all in confusion after Thanos had escaped them. By now, the Mad Titan must have reached Earth. If he did, it was up to the Avengers to stand up to him and ensure he did not get the last stone. However, Tony was shocked when Drax and Mantis began to experience pain. In seconds, they were both decimated into dust. As if that was not enough, Stephen Strange looked at him and raised one finger, before disintegrating into a million bits. In the end, only Tony, Nebula, and Peter Parker remained, and of all of them, Peter Parker was the most shocked. It had been 3 years since the infamous snap, and it had some consequences on its own. As far as Peter was concerned, the Avengers disbanded as each went into their own way in defeat. None of them were making efforts to figure out how to reverse what Thanos had done to the entire universe. Peter was dressed in a black jacket, looking at a picture of his best friend Ned Leeds, who had been one of the people that had been dusted from the snap. So was Aunt May in this timeline. So was everyone he loved. Now he was all alone. Natasha Romanoff stepped into the room wearing a black outfit. For a moment, Peter understood why they called her the Black Widow, and now he was dressed in black as well. Would they call him the Black Widower? Anyways, that was a very bad joke. Natasha took one good look at him and told him he wasn't supposed to be here. Peter immediately rebuffed her, noting that he had come for some information on the snap. Natasha responded by adding that this was not his fight. Peter immediately lost his temper, asking whose fight was it then? It was not like the other Avengers were doing anything about the snap. The world was in a pretty messed up state, and there was absolutely nothing anyone could do about it. As soon as he saw the hurt expression on Natasha's face, he quickly apologized. He added that she was the only one who was going to do anything. Every other Avenger had abandoned her to work alone, and it wasn't fair. Natasha noted that they had moved on. Peter asked her why she hadn't moved on then. Natasha responded by saying she had hope. Peter moved forward and held her hand. He told her that he had no one left. School was unappealing because most of his friends were gone. He was going to stand by her, and they were going to find a way to save their world. And for the first time in their entire conversation, Natasha smiled. Time flies by pretty much a mysterious way. For the next 2 years, Peter Parker and Natasha had worked hand in hand to find a way to bring everybody back. During this process, Natasha had learned to trust Peter, telling him everything about her past, especially her younger sister, a topic she clearly didn't like discussing. Also, Peter had discarded his regular Spider-Man outfit making some adjustments and becoming the black-suited Spider-Man. It only seemed fitting that the Black Widow would team up with him. As in the original reality, Dimension 616, Scott Lang had eventually emerged from his quantum prison, and with his new knowledge he had gathered the Avengers to find a way and save Earth. On the proper research, they had realized that they could use a time machine and retrieve the Infinity Stones at different points in time. Natasha, Clint, and Peter agreed to go to Vormir to retrieve the Soul Stone. It would be their most dangerous mission yet, but even in this mission, Peter could tell that something was off. 5 years ago, he had heard Thanos talking about the Soul Stone when he admitted to killing Gamora at Vormir. Peter knew he had to prepare for the worst. When they arrived, Peter cringed on seeing a red skulling figure emerging from the shadows. Red Skull wasted no time to inform them that in order to get the Soul Stone, they had to sacrifice someone they loved. A soul for a soul. It was then that Peter's nightmare came to pass. He sat in a corner and watched Natasha argue with Hawkeye on who should make the ultimate sacrifice. In seconds, Natasha had Hawkeye on the floor, vibrating with electricity. Before Natasha could jump, she was shocked to realize a web had held her leg. She tried to get free, but couldn't. Then it hit her. She had modified Peter's web shooters a year ago. It would be impossible for her to break free. Peter walked towards the edge, staring at Natasha. At that moment, tears welled up in his eyes. Natasha screamed, telling him that he deserved to live. He had a greater life ahead of him, an aunt, a best friend, so much. Peter responded by saying his life has always been promising. Natasha, on the other hand, never had the best of life. It was unfair to her. She had a sister she had to go back to, and that she needed her. He noted that the last 2 years of training with Natasha were the best. In this period, he had grown to care for her. He had grown to love her, and now he could decide that Natasha deserved happiness for once. Peter's last words were, "Tell Aunt May that I love her." He closed his eyes and jumped off the cliff. Natasha opened her eyes, finding herself in a body of water. She looked down to discover she was holding the Soul Stone. At that moment, she began to cry her heart out. Even months after Thanos was successfully defeated, Natasha could not stop visiting Aunt May. She knew that May would take a while to recover, but one thing she always did that made Aunt May happy was she always told Aunt May stories of Peter's clumsy days working with her. And that is going to be the sad, tragic end to Peter Parker in What If Season 1 Episode 13 of What If Peter Parker Wasn't Dusted in Avengers Endgame. You might have noticed some of the content was a little bit cut out, and that is because a lot of us know the main story of what had happened, and I really wanted to get into this story and dive deep and go into what Peter would have thought and why he would have made that sacrifice. That being said, do make sure to subscribe, like, share if you guys enjoy these videos, because only 10% of you are subscribed. If you guys do enjoy, make sure you also request what you would like to see in the comments down below. That being said, take care and have a fantastic day.